Hey friends, Jill here. Welcome back to a Spring Willow farm. This evening I am doing our second week of our fall garden tour. I slightly got a bit off track, but that's okay. I'm determined to get back on track and give you guys a glimpse of what is going on in the garden. So we did have our first frost. It was really a light frost though, so a lot of things that you would think would be taken out by a frost actually did really well. So like our green beans behind us, some of the leaves withstood some damage, some of our basil kind of was not feeling it, but overall we still have a ton of stuff thriving in the garden. I can't wait to show you guys. So I don't suspect that we will be having these lush beans for very much longer. This weekend it is supposed to get really cold, but with Arkansas weather you really just never know. So we do have these really pretty Chinese noodle beans behind me. I'll be honest, they really haven't produced a lot, but this was from one plant. So we've come out here and kind of just munched on some fresh in the garden, but I haven't really had enough to harvest and just cook by themselves. However, all of these green beans, when I was fearful of the frost, I came out here and harvested a bunch of them, and I ended up harvesting 30 pounds of green beans. Nathan and I were able to put in the freezer, and that's exactly what we did. We didn't snap them, we didn't string them, we just took them, we didn't wash them or anything. They went straight from the garden. I packed them into freezer bags and threw them in the freezer, and we actually had some of that batch last night for dinner, and they just hold their flavor. They hold like their true like crunchy green bean, right? Like they didn't get mushy or anything like that. And so that is one thing we've been asked a lot. We've mentioned it before on how we preserve our green beans. That's how we did it. Honestly, probably how we'll do it. If you have freezer space, I really recommend doing it. It's just super easy. And so I'm kind of expecting that all of my little green bean arch trellises will probably hit the dust in the next week or so. And so far, I've just been coming out here eating green beans fresh. The main variety that I was super impressed with was this, it's called Fort Jade Portal. And I don't know, I just really like these beans. There was one thing though I really wanted to show you guys. So Jessica has had Chinese noodle beans on this trellis for honestly as long as I can remember. Many, I can think back to the last few summers. She's always had these Chinese noodle beans, and I've always noticed that they had really bad aphids. And I don't know if that is because they are attracted to this particular plant. Maybe there's something in the soil. I'm not really sure. So that seems to be the case as well. But I wanted to show you guys something really cool. So if you guys can remember back to our radish video, we also had a major infestation of aphids, which is what those little guys right there, it's what that all is. But one thing you will see all over my bean plant are these ladybugs. So ladybugs are really beneficial insects that go through and eat all the aphids. I have literally found them just all over. There's one right there. I found them just all over this plant, which is really encouraging. And so right now, since I know the beans are going to be taken out soon, I'm not really worrying about it too much. I'm letting all the little ladybugs just do what they know how to do and let them kind of handle the situation right now. I mean, this plant is literally just covered in ladybugs everywhere. And so I'm just letting them feed off of that. But then as soon as the frost takes these, I'll immediately go in and just start ripping out this plant. I always find it really cool whenever nature handles the problem. And we get asked that all the time. What do you do for aphids? What do you do for this? What do you do for that? My first instinct is to let nature do what it knows how to do. And that is attract all the ladybugs so that they can feed off of them and take care of the issue. And so whenever that does happen, they just kind of marry together really nice. It is a really cool and beautiful thing to see. And so when I came out here, I was sad to see all the aphids, but we've had a great bean harvest, especially for this to be our second succession. And then when I saw these ladybugs, I was like, y'all go ahead. Y'all do what you know how to do. And so that was just really cool. Many of these beans are getting to the point where they're drying really nicely, and I can come harvest them to save the seeds. So that is what I will probably be doing this weekend, is collecting all of these and then getting ready to just clean off all the trellises. Check out all of the broccoli. I actually was showing somebody the garden last night, and I started doing some investigating to see if we had any broccoli heads. And the answer is yes. down in there. I don't know if y'all see that little broccoli head right there. You guys see that little head of broccoli starting to form. My goodness. So super exciting. These guys just have hardly any pest damage. They look really, really great. We have also been eating all the kale, all the lettuces. So behind me we've got some chard. This chard out here, and I think I'd mentioned that to you guys, just does not get near as big as the one in the tunnel, but it is really good just for like eating fresh and throwing on something. Come here, are you getting me? Look, okay, I'm gonna need you to stand up. Can you do that? All right, and then tell our friends what this is.
This is yep.
Is that lettuce?
Yeah.
It's a type of lettuce. Do you like it?
Yeah.
You want to eat it and tell me what it tastes like? Take a bite. Is it good? No, it's not good.
No.
Well, we gotta go feed it to the chickens. Are you gonna try again? You want to try it, Charlie?
Yes.
All right. Oh, get down here. We gotta see your honest.
It's probably gonna taste it.
Yes.
That tastes amazing.
Tastes amazing. I want to say this is Mizuna. It came in a mix actually, so I got
Mama.
You like it? Okay, good. It came in a salads mix, and so I don't know 100%, but it looks like Mizuna.
Mama.
All the dino kale out here is doing great. This lettuce has been abundant. We've just been out here eating it fresh with dinner. That's the broccoli down there as well. We've still got more beans over here. Same variety. Look at that. It's golden hour out here in the garden. It's my favorite time. I've been super impressed. This is the Marvel of Four Seasons lettuce. Here's the Ragged Jack kale. Here's some bok choy. Here's some more dino kale. I mean, I kind of planted these in these little clusters, and I love it. One, it's just super eye appealing. So for aesthetics, I really liked how it was just all these different lettuces and kales mixed. And so it tastes amazing. These are really good if you were to just collect these and like make yourself a little salad mix. You want to pick a carrot?
Yeah.
Okay. We actually do have some carrots ready. So I actually had a pretty hard time with carrots this year. I think part of it was we didn't have our drip irrigation set up in the raised beds, and so I was having to hand water, and I really wasn't super consistent with that, and so we have kind of spotty. The right side of the bed did really good as far as germination, but the left side is kind of lacking. But I did just order Napoli carrots from Johnny Seeds, and I will be sowing those out in the tunnel. And so these I'm just going to be leaving out here to store in the ground until I need them. So if you were going to harvest these carrots to can, or maybe you needed them for a big meal, absolutely come through and harvest them. But right now the soil it makes for a really good just like storage for them, and so I will leave these in here all winter and just come out and harvest as I need them, which is what we've been doing. We like to make a lot of stir fries, and so these are a whole bunch of different varieties. I've got the Red Dragon. I have got like little baby carrots. I've got I think they're called Davern carrots, and so let's try to show you guys one of these. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Yeah, so these are pretty good sized carrots. You're gonna hold it, Junie? All right, well come here, you gotta show them. Do you like carrots? Yeah, we gotta wash this one off first. I mean, that is a pretty good sized carrot. The few that I harvested the other day were about that size too, so very, very happy. There are some that are a lot smaller. I never actually went through and like weeded any out. I just kind of like heavily seeded them. The ones that germinated, the ones that didn't. Oh, you showing them? That's really sweet. Will you go put it down there for mommy with my other stuff? And so I'm gonna go through, I'm hoping to be a lot more efficient when planting these in the tunnel. And we already have the drip irrigation set up in the tunnel on a timer. So I feel like we will have better luck moving forward doing these than I did with these. But overall, I feel pretty pleased with just how good they've done. Carrots like that real loose soil. You know, they don't want that compacted soil since they're growing down and not up. And so, I don't know, I'm pretty excited about the carrots. This is one of my favorite parts of the garden right now. I've got all of these lovely cabbages, and look at that. They are making some huge heads. These are just the hybrid cabbages, and then the ones down the middle are red cabbages. They, in my experience, take a bit longer to kind of mature, but check that out. I mean, that's a really good sized head of cabbage already. Most of the cabbages in the tunnel are a bit bigger than this, but the pest damage, as you guys can see, really isn't anything. So I've not had to put insect netting on here. I don't think I'm going to put insect netting on here. So just really, really pleased. Look at that. Such a good little span of the garden. You guys know the garden's one of my favorite places to be for so many reasons. But this time of year, it is just glowing. You got golden hour coming. It's just so pretty. I saw this out here the other day and wanted to show you guys. Look at that. I don't know the variety of it. We had a crazy storm last night. Everything got saturated. Look how beautiful that is. So the storm last night was pretty intense. Probably one of the most intense storms we've had since the spring. I wasn't really worried about anything though. Most of everything in the garden is good and established. However, my sister, she was texting me this morning telling me she has officially become a real farmer because she was outside like 11 o'clock last night covering up all her plants trying to protect it from the storm, and I got a kick out of that. It made me giggle. And so I was happy when I came out here this morning and, you know, to see that nothing had really withstood any damage. We had really high winds. The only thing that kind of took a beating is we had some volunteer sunflowers that had come up that I was going to be, you know, ripping up anyways to plant a cover crop on. So I really wasn't upset that happened. But all of our little flowers did great. I didn't cover them up with anything. I'm not going to either. I found when you kind of let plants be resilient and do what they know how to do, they end up being stronger and tougher because of it anyways. And so obviously if I were to have like little bitty baby plants, like yes, I would do what I needed to do to protect those. But I mean, plants are strong, plants are resilient. And so that's one thing I kind of hold hope to, is that they can withstand quite a bit of damage and just bounce back. And so I have found that to be the case for me anyways. And so that's been nice. Our flowers look really good. I do want to show you guys the feverfew because I feel like it has kind of done the best in regards of just shooting up so quickly. So it was super tiny when Sean and I transplanted it out, and now it is growing so well. I'm pretty excited. And I wanted to show you guys the Clematis. So Jessica had Clematis that this spring will be its third year, and it comes back bigger and better. And so she had given me instructions when I moved in that after the first hard frost to go in and like clip it at the base and it will come back. But Arkansas is crazy, right? And so we have had, you know, the beginning of this week and kind of the end of last week, it was like in the high 70s. And so some of my plants really didn't know what to do, and the Clematis was one of them. And so blooms start popping up everywhere, and I have a couple that are still open that I want to show you guys real quick. I have abandoned my Greenstalk, and yet things are still growing, so that's nice. Here's some chard. Let's move over here to this beautiful Clematis. Look at that. I actually took some photos the other day. I'm going to pop in here. I think these are stunning. So this is one I will definitely keep this on this trellis. I love it so much. It's absolutely beautiful. Alright, remember I told you I was going to show you some feverfew? 10 minutes later, I cannot be trusted in the garden, you guys. I'm sorry. But drum roll, please. I think I do that every single garden tour. Like that one thing I'm really impressed with, I will say this week, is definitely the feverfew. I mean, look how pretty. These little guys have just sized up so well. So they are doing well. Our sweet peas are doing well. The goal is kind of just to let these get bushy. And then in the springtime, they'll start shooting up and climbing up this trellis. But they're doing great. All of our overwinter flowers are doing really good. Man, I chose a good time to bring you guys out on the farm with me. Check out that right there. It's my favorite scene in the morning and the evenings. Our foxglove is also sizing up pretty nicely. So that's what's all in this bed all the way down. And then over here in our last bed, we have some direct seeded stuff that's really not doing that great. But we have some Chinese forget-me-nots, and then we have the bachelor buttons, which have really just kind of been showing out the last week or so. So I'm going to show you guys those as well. Look at there. So we also have some of these out in the tunnel. We put these out a few weeks before we moved the ones out into the tunnel, and they are definitely a lot bigger, but they look really good, and they go all the way down to that line, and then we have some direct seeded stuff at the very end. One thing I tell you guys that I love most about the fall garden is just how kind of hands-off it is. It doesn't require near as much attention as the summer garden, and I still believe that that's true, and that's one of the reasons that I love overwintered flowers too. Aside from, you know, the work of transplanting them, that went pretty quickly because Sean and I got all the transplanting done in one day. It's just the cultivating. So I cultivate beds once a week. Other than that, everything's super low maintenance. We did have some of them that we went through and pinched, but again, we got through that super quickly. And so it's crazy to me when I think about how lush, you know, the summer garden is. It's lush and it's beautiful. However, it is a lot of work, right? Like I spend hours and hours a week in the garden in the summertime, and then not only am I spending hours and hours a week in the garden maintaining, you know, pruning, trellising, tying up, whatever that looks like, there's also hours of preservation for majority of the crops that I grow in the summertime. Well, in the fall and the winter, a lot of these crops, like the carrots, they just get stored in the ground until I get ready to use them. We have the radishes that I just pulled up, washed off, threw into, you know, the refrigerator, and they're good for months. These cabbages, when they get ready, you know, they will store for several months. You know, in just the fridge. Like I'll just cut the base and stick them in a fridge and they'll last for months. A lot of these things are very hands-off in the preservation stage as well, which is one thing that I would definitely consider if you were thinking about growing a fall garden. Maybe you're a beginner gardener and you've never grown a fall garden and you're just, you know, taking this fall and this winter to learn. That is one of the things I think I would put on my list of pros, is that one is it's a lot easier to take care of, but then two, to store it and put it up is a lot easier too. So the green beans were pretty easy, but that has been probably the most time sensitive thing. And then for my broccoli and cauliflower, I'll literally just harvest those, stick them in, like we'll vacuum seal them, and they're also pretty easy. We don't really do, you know, a whole lot else. For me, it's definitely a pro. When I think about the reasons and the benefits of growing this time of year, it's all around, it's just easier in my opinion, and it's beautiful. I mean, look how stinking pretty my garden is. It makes me so proud. So I hope you guys have enjoyed checking out the garden, seeing what's growing, how everything's looking. Next week, stay tuned. We'll have a high tunnel garden tour. We've been harvesting a lot of kale and chard and things from in there, but a lot of the cabbages are sizing up. A lot of the flowers are getting bigger. We're going to be direct seeding some stuff together next week, which I'm excited to talk to you guys about too. So thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.